This is the book called The Truth About Leadership, and this is the book by Kouzes and Posner, who have been leadership gurus for many years. And one of the things that you see that they do in this book is they actually bring to light a summary of really what they have done in many, many other books. So many of you may know the titles called The Leadership Challenge, which I presented here, and also the book called Encouraging the Heart, which was a bestseller that they've done. And so if you followed leadership work, it's very hard not to know about these authors. On page 2 of your handout, I gave you a summary about their background, and you can see many of the bestsellers that they've written, and it talks about one of the inventories that they made to assess leadership. But this is a book that was a bestseller and has been very important in leadership work for quite some time. If you'll look at the, on page 3, the top quote, it says here, as much of the context of leadership has changed, the content of leadership has not changed much at all. The fundamental behaviors, actions, and practices of leaders have remained essentially the same since we first began researching and writing about leadership over 3 decades ago. Much has changed, but there's a whole lot more that stayed the same. And so one of the things they did, being social scientists, I suppose, is they did focus groups, and they did these on millennials. And what they did, they set this up with this question. Imagine you're sitting in a meeting with a group of your colleagues. The door to the conference room opens. In walks someone you've never met before, and that person says, "Hi, I'm your new leader." What questions immediately come to mind that you want to ask this person? And so on the outline, you can see the quote that they gave from the findings of this. Age made no difference. As we reviewed the questions millennials wanted to ask a new leader, an important insight emerged. We found that their concerns were not all that different from those we'd heard from their older sisters and brothers, and even their moms and dads when they'd responded to the same question. They wanted to know what every other generation wanted to know. Age made no difference. And so here's where the title of this book came from. In the middle of responding to an audience question, one of us was saying, "I don't know what you call something that's been the same for 25 years, but," and Ken Blanchard, who of course wrote the 1-Minute Manager and Situational Leadership, he interrupted exclaiming, "Well, I'd call it the truth." And that's really where this title came from, because these are long-standing best practices and principles about leadership. And what makes this book different from others they wrote? 3 things. One, it's bold. They take a stand that research supports their claims. It's based upon data the authors didn't have for other books, and it is more global and cross-generational. And here was a question that they asked, these authors. What one piece of advice would you give a new leader or a young person entering the workforce? And the answer they gave was dream, imagine, think big. We need your creativity, enthusiasm, and idealism. The truth is that focusing on the future sets leaders apart. The capacity to imagine and articulate existing and exciting future possibilities is the defining competence of leaders. It's not something people expect from their colleagues, but they definitely expect it from their leaders. You have to take a long-term perspective if you're going to guide people to places they've never been before. And as important as it is, inspiring a shared vision is the most difficult of all the leadership practices to master. You need to start now in developing the capacity to envision an ennobling and uplifting future. Dream, imagine, think big, think in the future, the defining characteristic from these authors about what a leader is. So, and finally in the epilogue, leaders say yes. You are responsible. Are you familiar with the riddle of the 12 frogs? It goes like this. 12 frogs are sitting on a log. 12 frogs decide to jump into the pond. How many frogs remain on the log? The answer, 12. 12 frogs remain on the log because there's a clear difference between deciding to jump and jumping. How do you like that? I hope you enjoyed that synopsis of the truth about leadership.